Okay, so I am back for another little snippet. I have read 4 more qualities. The first one was like an intro to the following 3, and then the following 3 are a witch owns their thoughts, a witch owns their words, and their deeds. Yeah. And I just thought that this was generally just good life advice, especially the witch owns their thoughts. And maybe I resonated with that one, or I thought that one was one of the most important ones because I tend to live in my head a lot, which is another reason why I also am such a promoter of moving the body and being in the body, and why I'm going to be putting up more body-centered content, because I'm always in my head. Like, to the point where I see myself, like I see the quality of my life changing when I've been in my head too long. Like, I don't want to try to make it sound more than it is. Like, it's not like I feel like I'm going crazy or anything like that. It's just, I see that my mood is way different. I don't consider myself to be an overly negative or positive person. I also wouldn't say I'm neutral. I just don't think that it's easy for you to read and put that on me as a normal thing. I think I really kind of like change my dial, is what I'm trying to say, depending on my environment. And by my environment, I mean my mind, my thoughts. Damn, this could really go into a whole like shadow work thing. We're not gonna trauma dump or do anything like that right now. But I just thought it was like generally good advice. Like, I think if I was a really young person, well, I'm not old, but I guess I would have loved to have this book in my teens, is what I'm trying to say. It would have given me a lot more beneficial things to think about. That's exactly how I want to say that. Do we actually make good decisions? Do we make poor decisions and then reframe our experiences to make them seem good? Do we avoid making decisions and allow others to do so for us? And those questions are really good questions, because I feel like this may not be something that people that are very spiritual, I think, have as an issue as much as people who aren't so spiritual. But this self-analysis of, am I who I think I am, or am I just a product of expectation? And this is very important for me personally, because I feel like I have definitely brought into my existence a lot of things that I wanted, most of the things that I wanted. I feel like I've been a very good manifester in that way. But sometimes those things that I manifested and brought into my life, I thought that I wanted because they were going to say something to a specific group of people that had made me think that I wanted a certain thing. And it's not because it was going to benefit them, really. It was going to benefit me. But it's just kind of like, you know, like even parental expectations. I remember my dad. Okay, now we're getting into it. I remember my dad and me, very, very ugly relationship when I was growing up, as a small child into teens. And then I started standing up for myself. But anyways, we would get into arguments all the time. And he would always tell me that I was so rude and that I was hocicona, which basically means that I had a big ass mouth, and, you know. But he would tell me these things, and he would try to fix me by threatening me in a way that he thought would work. So he would tell me, you know, if you keep acting this way, you're never going to find a man. You're never going to find a man. You're never going to have somebody that loves you. You're never going to get married. And instead of like getting bothered by this, and I think this is because my dad was like my bully my entire life, so I was like used to his stuff. Instead of being completely bothered by this, or like, oh my God, I better straighten up my act, my answer was always, what if I don't want to get married? Like, who said I wanted to get married? And that would always piss him off. It would make me laugh. Because it was like, this is how you think that you're gonna make me act right, is by threatening me that I'm going to be alone or that I'm not gonna get married. Like, first of all, who said I wanted to get married? I'm gonna keep reading. I feel like I have to say so many things. Like I said in the first vlog, this would be a great this would be a great book to do in a book club, because, well, at least for me, like, I could probably talk about 2 sentences in this book. Actually, that's just me with all books mostly. But yeah, I have a lot of things to say all the time. But then, okay, actually I have one more thing to say, because it's pertaining to me talking a lot here. So the next quality is a witch owns their words. And this made me laugh so much because, I mean, obviously you want to be a person of your word. I've actually had this discussion with one of my friends, one of my witchy friends, and I was telling her how you need to think about what you're saying to yourself, the promises that you're making to yourself, because you not keeping those promises is sending a message to you on what kind of person you are. And it doesn't feel good when you say that you're going to do certain things and you don't do them. Then set that bar low. And by low, I mean ridiculously low. And then make promises to that ridiculously low bar. So, like, for example, let's just say I've been feeling bad because I told myself that I was going to be more physically active and I just haven't been doing it. I'm a horrible person. So instead of making the goal so broad, also narrow it down, make it smaller, break it up into little chunks, and then keep on breaking it up until not doing it is laughable. So let's just say you've been really depressed or something, or you've been down in the dumps, whatever the case is. Instead of saying, I want to be more physically active, and I failed at that, think, I'm going to get out of bed today. And I know maybe to some people that sounds ridiculous, but I think there's going to be people out there that are going to be like, yeah, that's good. You know, you kind of have to get out of bed to go to the bathroom. Or, yeah, I mean, at the very least, right? Like, even if you don't want to eat, if you don't want to shower, not that I'm promoting you do those things, but, you know, set those bars so low so that you can start seeing progress in forms of what you're doing for yourself, even if it is at a very small scale. I'm hoping that came off clear and didn't seem weird. But I'm going to put it anyway. I'm going to put it up. I'm pretty sure it's going to resonate with somebody. Anyways. So, prompt 17. A witch owns their words. So, I had an issue with this prompt. And this is not on Aiden Watcher. This is on me. But, so, he was basically saying that words have power, which is true. So, we should use them, I don't want to say carefully, because they should be treated with respect, he says. And that we should think before we speak, which I think is a very popular piece of advice. But I had a problem with this because I am in this phase, this era of my life where I'm trying to not think too much before I speak. Because like I said at the beginning of this little snippet here, I am always in my head thinking way too much. And a lot of the times, they're things that would be better put out. And I know you could say you could journal and do all that. Yeah. But the reason I started this YouTube video was not to be quiet. And it was not to try to nitpick every little thing about myself. It was to put myself out there to be more raw and okay with being raw. And vulnerable and, you know, all those tasty little delicious things that us humans are. So that's why I had an issue with that. It was because my mind is agreeing with everything that he's saying, but then all of a sudden I'm like, but that's not my journey right now. And that's okay. And the reason I wanted to share this, apart from the fact that I'm just sharing a bunch of shit, is because when you're reading these books, his book or any other book that's giving you advice because you're trying to find something that works for you, it does not mean that everything you read is for you. And that's easily said, but not so easily done if you're someone who has let yourself think that other people know more than you do all the time. And that's something that I had to work on and that I'm still working on. Yeah, like I said, this can be a very long video. I think that's how I want to stay right now. I'll catch y'all back when I read another, like, I don't know, maybe 10 pages or so. Okay, so this time I made it another 10 pages into the book without having to run for my camera, or phone I should say, and say something. The next quality that was up was a witch courts failure as an ally. I love the title because you already know what you're getting on this, like, you know, little quality you're working on. Well, it's not little, it's big. Aiden is basically trying to convince us that, or how, we should see failure as allies. As always, he's got a list of questions that he's asking you to really think, which I love. I love all of the questions so far. I think they're just such a good way to really understand your relationship with these qualities. The next quality is a witch sits like a stone. So this one's actually one of the longer qualities. And that's because he's essentially trying to show you how to meditate without technically calling it just meditation. He's trying to paint the picture of how you are going to sit like a stone and observe things, and then gives little tips sprinkled in throughout about different things you can do or try to maybe make the experience better. And it reminded me a lot of when I used to try to meditate like crazy and it felt like I was failing at it every time. I remember I started using Headspace, which is an app. It's a meditation app. I don't remember how many years ago that was. But anyways, I remember using Headspace because I really liked the interface of the app and I liked the animations that they had. But the one thing that I really liked about Headspace is that it has like courses now. Like, they upgraded the crap out of this. So like I said, it's gone through many iterations throughout the years, but they had this one that said for beginners or intro to meditation or something. And then it had like an animation, and then it would walk you through that meditation. And then as you got better at it, you could go to a bunch of different types of meditations depending on what you needed to work on, etc., whatever. But there was this thing called the noting technique, and it stuck with me because of the visual that they gave in order to understand what it meant. And by visual, I mean it was an animation, not that like I saw it as they explained it. That came later. But instead of having your mind say like, oh, you suck, you can't even sit still for a minute, and then embodying that thought and thinking, man, I really do suck, why am I even trying? It's more of like, yeah, my mind thought that, but it's just a thought, that's okay. And then kind of like seeing it pass by like a cloud floating in the sky. And that, so Aiden actually talks about something similar, but in a different way. And it just reminded me of that. So I thought I would share it because it's something that I heard so many times and it just wasn't clicking.
Thanks for watching my mommy rant.